All right, we are live for our next installment of Casual Convos, and I'm posting the links to different pages now. So hopefully we'll get some people in here soon. But this episode is going to be general discussion. We don't have an actual topic today. We're just going to throw some stuff out there, whatever comes to mind, whatever been bothering us or we just want to talk about, we can throw it out there. If we get somebody from, that one of our viewers, if we have viewers, because you never know. But if one of them comes up and they have a topic they'd like us to discuss or give an opinion on, we will certainly address that. And so there. Anybody got any topics or want to get something out already?
I'll have to say, I don't know if it's a topic. Okay. But it's something that I'm seeing again, and I guess because it's the advent of the Halloween season, but it's more of a pet peeve, is the quote or the allegation of the most haunted, insert whatever it is you want to sell here, drives me crazy. I have no idea why. I mean, I understand cognitively, I understand why people put that, they want to, it could be completely harmless or not trying to make a serious allegation, just to, bring people in to spend some money, have a good time, maybe use that money for honorable things like restoration of a place. But it still just bothers me to no end when I hear someone say it's the most haunted house or the most haunted facility in America or the East Coast or the state. I'm like, how? How do you? I don't know if it's just a default button from me. It just bothers. I always want to go, how do you know that? How did you achieve that conclusion? But it's just as much me being a jerk.
No, I mean, I feel the same way. Because I don't think it's just Halloween that this comes up. I see it constantly. I follow a lot of groups on social media, so I'm seeing constant posting of links to the most haunted in this state, the most haunted in that state, or the most haunted in the world. And you see it a lot. It's a catchphrase. It's almost like advertising 101 teaches you, hey, no matter what, yours is the most haunted. So say it on the advertisement. And that's about it. And I don't know, I think we've brought this up before, but there's no criteria. What's the criteria for that?
I don't know.
How do you come up with the most haunted? Is it the most sightings, the most stories, the most books written about it? What?
Almost, if I would see a title or if I would see a catchphrase that would say the third most haunted house in the state, I would go, I've got it. For some reason, what is that? The third most haunted? That would catch my eye much more than most haunted.
It's all subjective.
Good
marketing around the Halloween season.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it around here. You have the most haunted bar, the most haunted cemetery, the most haunted walk. I mean, it's every year you hear it.
Every year. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, how do they come up with that? I don't think we could even come up with a potential explanation. It's a subjective.
It's fine.
It's a marketing ploy. It's a sales ploy.
I have to say it's small, but it does bother me. It does. I'm like, so what's the most haunted room in your most haunted house?
Because that's got to be the portal to hell itself, right?
Yeah.
I want to stay in that room because obviously it's the most haunted in the world. Let me see what you got.
I mean, it's got to be, right? I mean, just by process, there's got to be a most haunted place inside this most haunted place.
See, you need to take the opposite extreme. When we were in New Orleans last time, walking down, I don't think it was Bourbon Street, one of the side streets, there was an apartment for rent, and it said not haunted. That was the thing. Apartment was it's not haunted. That was pretty good. Opposite approach.
Wow, that's like reverse psychology. You're walking in oh my God, is it haunted or is it not? Are they lying to me? Are they trying to say, what are they saying? I have to go in there and find out.
There's a lot of superstition and voodoo and ghosts, vampires, and stuff down there. So,
oh yeah, I've never been there.
That might actually make a difference for some people.
I've never been there. I want to go see it too.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It's awesome. I think Jen and I have been there 5, 6, no, maybe 7 times now.
Really,
we love it down there.
Yeah, that's on the list. It's on the list of things to do.
Yeah, it's good.
So, I don't know. I have a couple topics we could talk about.
All right, go.
Oh my goodness. I mean, one that we were just talking about before we went live, which is, I think, it might be interesting. I don't know. It might fail miserably, but attending lectures, specifically, I guess, paranormal lectures, like when you go to a paranormal themed conference and they have talks. And Dave, you were joking about going, and when you start doing your lecture, some people fall asleep within 10 minutes. You said that, not me.
Yeah, they do.
So why, and we'll get into the question that I asked after that, but why do you think that is?
Probably because I spend too much time on actual data. And in order to understand the data that I'm talking about, see, look at that bastard's asleep already. I mean, you got to we're not like other groups. We're there to, kind of take a look at what we found. Here's the data. It's laid out, graphically. We do a little bit of statistics, but we explain it. But I think that's important. It's to show people that if you really want this to be meaningful, this is what you have to do. This is how if you're going to say you're a paranormal researcher, this is what you do. This is what research entails. It's not easy, but it's what needs to be done. So I think a lot of the conferences, and we stopped going for a long time. I think when Jen and I saw Kenny out at one of the Gettysburg things, that was one of the first conferences we had been to in probably 5 or 6 years. And I think that was the last one we went to for a couple of years after that.
Your paranormal conference adventure started and ended with me. That's great.
Well, it wasn't you. It was the same stuff that we saw going on years ago and we got sick of. So, I'm there to learn. I'm there to hopefully talk to people and learn what they're doing and get some real information. But I think a lot of times people go for the stories and the fun, which is great, but that's just not what I go for. So I have a different approach. So sometimes I think maybe we should focus on some of the more scientific conferences, but then again, the professional people don't want to have much to do with you either because, they're trying to differentiate themselves from the whole ghost hunting paranormal field.
I don't, that's interesting. Because this is what I do. I'm part of that where I don't do the numbers game, the statistics. I can't say that word right.
Statistics. I can't say brewery.
I actually have to. My wife can't say that either.
Brewery.
Like, walk down the street and we'll see a brewery, and she's like a brew.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm just like, here's a place that makes beer.
Statistics to be accused of being drunk. You're not.
But with the scientific community, the science conferences, I mean, why not try? Because I know, like the one I go to, it's part of them. So, like for Skeptical Inquirer, I mean, they still publish articles about ghost sightings and UFO sightings, Bigfoot sightings, and they break it down. And like I know for SciCon, they have the Sunday papers where presenters they have 15 minutes and you go through a process where you apply and all that, and they pick and choose who I guess they find interesting. I don't know the process, but
yeah,
you can get up on stage and present something for 15 minutes, and there's a wide range of topics. So I mean, that might be.
Yeah, I think we've looked at them. I think part of the problem is they're few and far between, and they usually are in locations that cost a freaking fortune to get to. And we just honestly, on a doing this as a part-time hobby, we just if we're going to go on vacation, I hate to say it, we're not going to spend thousands of dollars going to a conference to give a talk or a paper. We're going to go on a cruise and hang out on Bourbon Street for a week. So
yes,
I don't know, maybe at some point, we will kind of dive into that and put the money into it. But yeah, we thought about it and we'd like to do that. It's so damn expensive. And the last one they had, I think, was over in the UK, and then there was one in Australia. It's like, come on, that's not reasonable for people like us to go to.
Yeah, it's hard. And generally, I think science conventions are a lot more expensive anyway, just to attend.
Yeah.
I do enjoy them when I get to go, but yeah, it's not your $20 entrance fee. It's a few $100s just to get in.
Oh, I know. We go to them for my job for work, and there's a couple different science conferences that we go to, and it's $400 or $500 just to get in the door.
Yeah.
And then you have to add your room, your board, your hotel, and all that. And when the company's paying for it, that's one thing. But when it's coming on my own pocket, we're going to think about that. Yeah.
But I like how you brought up about the data, and that if you're going to call yourself a researcher, that's part of it. It's not just looking at YouTube videos, on the latest haunted place. It's you deal a lot with hard data, and it's. I can see how it would be boring to a lot of people. I would be interested. That would be something I would sit through and say, wow, look at the numbers. That's really cool. But I think for the general populace of the paranormal community, or the micro community, for Mel, she, but I don't think most of them would be interested. I don't, honestly, and this is going to sound like a dick move, but I don't think most of them would understand it.
I think that's part of it, but we've really tried to make an attempt to get it to a point where they can understand it. Kind of, here's all these numbers, but what does it mean? Kind of boil it down into one or two bullet points, takeaways. But yeah, I mean, it's probably not what they want to hear. And I don't want to give away the money line for the talks that I'm going to be giving, but after 15 years of data logging, all kinds of different environmental factors and conditions, I can tell you there were 2 out of, I think, the 7, 8, 10 different ones that we've measured over 15 years, only 2 that showed a correlation at all with people having experiences.
Wow. That's interesting.
The 2, actually, for me, the 2 that showed a correlation, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it held up. And that's, other people are reporting the same type of things in some of the literature, but, doing field investigations routinely for a number of years, which we don't do anymore. But actually that to me says, okay, here's something we should focus on, or the ones that we didn't find a correlation, maybe we didn't do it right. Maybe there's a way to improve upon it. Maybe somebody should take this and look at it and do it differently. So that's our goal of going to these things, but it just sometimes doesn't go over well. So of course we like to sprinkle in like, okay, here's the overall data, but here's a couple case examples. Here's what people reported. Here's what we did. I think it kind of satisfies the people looking for a little bit of that backstory of what was going on in the location. So you have to jazz it up. I think we've realized that after years is you gotta dip into the fun, scary reports, and we can do that from what the participants or what the homeowners or business owners used to say to us when we did those. We can fill in some of that excitement factor there, but for the most part, ours are pretty data driven.
Well, that's good. I don't have a lot of data well, I don't really do data. I do like the numbers that you do, this statistics. See, I have to practice. I have to build up to saying that word. Most of mine are case, like I go into steps of solving mysteries and I give demonstrations for each step, showing how I use that step in it. So yeah, I get the whole jazzing it up. You have to make it fun and interactive, and for me, I like to have it interactive. I like to involve the audience to make them do something. So let's flip it around. Well, Tim, you've done talks, right?
Yeah.
And what's your experience?
My experience, I like to do the last 2 talks I've done were about mistakes I've made and just what I've learned over, so many years. And, so I like if I can get people in the audience laughing and exchanging conversation with me, then I'm having a good time, and I think they're having a good time. And I really don't like, it does not bother me at all to talk about all my errors at all. Like, it just doesn't. So, I usually open up talking about chasing an orb through my first, my first ghost hunt was in a cemetery in a field. And, I love, we were using the night vision, and we were just chasing this, obviously it was a ghost, and we were,
Obviously.
and I'm like holding up, we've got the old camera. It's got the one with the side, it pops open in the side, and you can see the night vision through the side. You can hold it away from your face about 5 or 6 inches. And I'm just like going through the bushes, like going, the ghost's over here, and
So
Crap
are
your
most of
pants
your,
when fireflies were out.
look, this one's pulsing.
get pissed.
So are most of your mistakes that you go over, is it more humorous, like just easy, like that's not the right word, simple mistakes, or
Yeah.
like do you go in the more serious stuff?
I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it simple so that hopefully people that are starting out don't do the same mistakes I do. The equipment that I bought, and just absolutely fully believing it. Turns out it was crap, and I bought into it because I wanted to buy into it, because I really wanted it to be true, and I never questioned it. And I saw it on TV. I saw it work on TV. I saw different people use them. And starting out, we started before TV, the shows really got big. However, there were a handful of, I guess, for lack of a better word, kind of like just at least in the United States, nationally known authors and paranormal investigators who would more than happily sign you up as a trainee for, $50 a year. And they would send you literature on, ideas of what to do. And, I did that, trying to learn, and which, to be fair, I did learn. I learned what not to do after a while, but I had to go through it to, for my experience,
Right.
I had to go through it and wait, the customary 3 to 4 years of getting the same results every time before I was like, there's something wrong with this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where we go, we keep getting the same thing over and over and over. So when you start, at least for me, I had to rethink everything. I just kept getting the blurry pictures and the scratchy voices on EVP and the orbs floating by, and believing, all the reports that we hear without even questioning it. My attitude going into paranormal investigations, I talk about that. There's just the basics, I guess, of my mistakes. Doesn't bother me.
I like that.
Hmm.
So now we'll flip it around. And what do you do when you attend lectures? What do you guys do? Like, are you the type that just sits there? Nothing. I'm not trying to downplay or make any of these choices look worse than the other one or better. Do you sit there and listen, take notes? Do you raise your hand? Do you question if you hear something that you don't like? Do you challenge it if the opportunity is there? What do you guys do? Dave, you start.
Well, when we used to go to them more frequently, it would depend. If it was somebody who was up there just telling stories, I just sit back and actually just enjoy the stories. It is what it is. But if it's somebody trying to say that this is proof, evidence, data, we'd question them. And there was one example from a certain tech manager from one of the more popular ghost hunting shows back in the day.
Oh.
That and I don't want to say the name now, but we can.
Well, we're streaming onto YouTube, so if you say a name, it's okay. We're not going to get deleted.
Okay, so Ron Million. Remember that guy?
Wow, you see how fast he opened up? Damn.
Hey, so anyway, he used to be part of the Ghost Hunters Taps crew for a while. He's kind of their tech guy.
Yeah.
And we went to a conference in Louisville, and he was up there talking about how he had this electromagnetic field detector, and he invented it, and he designed it, and he created it. And, it was, I think, 3 or 4 people from our group. And, the first person raised their hand, goes, "Wait, what did you say you invented that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I created this." They're like, "Really? Because that looks like the same one we've been using for 3 years. That's amazing." And they go, "Well, what I meant is I designed the software." And right away I'm like, no, that's pretty much the software that came with it as part of the package deal." And then I am telling you, everybody looked at us like we were the biggest jackasses in the entire group.
Wow.
We were the problem because we called this dude out. And then one of our other people later on found some post that he had designed this other circuit, and he actually found he lifted it from a website and just copied and pasted it and put it on his. And it was I don't know, I don't want to accuse him of doing that stuff, but I can tell you from our personal experience, that was one of those ones where it's like, it's blatantly wrong. It was called out, and it was necessary. We looked like the jerks. I don't think anybody else talked to us the entire conference, but that's fine. But yeah, usually when we would go to conferences, we would ask questions. I mean, if it's an area that we knew something about, we would ask questions, not to be confrontational or be, jackasses. It's just like,
Right.
Help me understand, or can you explain that a little bit more? Or if it was blatantly wrong, we would definitely just say, that's our understanding is not that, it's something else.
Right.
And I can tell you, we didn't make a lot of friends at those. You just don't. And I do think, though, somehow I'm seeing a little bit of a change. We went to a conference in Antioch, Illinois, and it seemed like people were more open to interact and talk about things and get questions. So I do see maybe, hopefully, some changes in attitude, and that's why we're starting to kind of tread back into the conferences a little bit.
I definitely have seen a shift lately, and I go to a lot of conferences. I go. There's a few science conferences that I attend. Obviously, the SciCon one, and then there's Nexus in New York that I haven't been to yet, but I'm trying to get there. But I get to hear the lectures and stuff. But most of the conferences are paranormal themed, and they're in the tri-state area, so I go to a lot of them, and I have definitely seen a shift where I used to not be welcome. It was like, oh shit, there's that jackass. And now it's switched to when there's a lecture or something coming up, there's a lot of people that actually come up and say, hey, are you going to attend this? What do you think of this? Which is really, it's nice. It's nice to see, because it's not like they're just going to take the word for it. They want to hear maybe a different opinion. Or I think I do my I do my research on these topics, so I do have some knowledge about them. So it's not just like, oh, I just don't like it because I don't like that guy, but I can offer something for it. Mm-hmm. There was I'm almost the same way. I don't really try to be confrontational. Most of the lectures that I attend and sit in for, I take notes. I write it down. If I can record it, I record it and listen to it again later, but I take a lot of notes. Only if there's something said that's really absurd will I put my hand up. Or if they ask, if they make a statement about, like for an example, there was a paranormal day at a place called Haldeman Mansion, and there was a group that was talking about all the gadgets they use. And the guy brought up the flashlight trick. Except that he didn't call it a trick. He called it communication. And he went into his explanation for it. And I can't remember the exact details, but it was wrong. It was completely wrong. The operation of it, how the process of the flashlight blinking on and off. And he ended his little explanation with, skeptics say this. How do you explain this? How do you explain it? And
there's the softball.
Yeah, there was only like 5 people in the room. Okay. So me being the skeptic, I obviously thought he was talking to me. So I responded. I don't think I even raised my hand. I just started talking and explained exactly how that process worked, and didn't like it at all. He did not like the guy. I don't know his name. I don't remember his name. Was not happy with it at all. But afterwards, I did have the rest of the people that were in attendance come up and ask, like, how do I know this? And said, well, here, this guy from, I think, Germany or Switzerland, he did this awesome breakdown video. You can go through it. You can look at it. You can check all the information. This is exactly how it's done. And they love it.
Probably the best video ever made. That should be at least until something comes along better, that should be a template of how you break down why stuff does not work the way that is a
beautiful
classic video. So
yeah, I will speak up if there's an opportunity. If I have something to back it up, like if I'm sitting there going, I don't think that's true, I'm not going to say anything just in case I'm wrong, because then I look like an idiot. But I'll approach them later and ask more questions. But I am that guy. I won't disrupt. I won't, cause a ruckus or anything just to cause a ruckus. But I will speak up when I think something's wrong. So what about you, Tim?
Yeah, you were there for my last one. I was in, I don't know where we were. It was before we went up to White Hill for our.
Oh, yes. We were at the Power Unity conference.
I met Zappis. Is that his? Yeah.
That was funny.
And well, so here's the thing. Like, I think my question, I think my question is a genuine question. I wanted to know how objects become attached by a spirit. Like, what is the process? And, he was standing at his table. He was, doing the selfies, and he actually came out in front of the table for a couple talks, and I was standing next to him. We looked at each other, and I was like, hey, I have a question. And he was like, yes. I was like, what is the mechanism that attracts and or keeps an attachment to an object? And he looked at me and turned around and walked away.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that was a bad question. That is a legit question that I want to know.
Right. I agree.
And he just walked away from me. Didn't even talk. Just walked away.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. So any doubts that were ever, which were plenty, were cemented when I thought was a pretty basic question. Like I was fully expecting that I would probably get it has something to do with emotion or energy or, crystals. Who the hell knows? If Saturn's in Pluto's orbit, I don't know. But I was wanting something. And I just, what is the mechanism? I want to know the mechanism of the attachment. And he walked away from me. So that was it.
It's one of the few times I saw Tim like get visibly, you could see he was angry. Like, he wasn't like freaking out like, fuck, no. But you could tell. And I was like, wow, you're mad.
I was disappointed, not even to get a bullshit answer, but just, in some ways I was satisfied because it is what it is. And he doesn't know, or we would have talked about it, but he just walked away and,
probably thought that was such a stupid question. How can anybody not know that?
I think you scared him with the word mechanism.
Yeah.
Because I would put money that he probably has not had a question like that involving that term.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
So normally, I guess in a broader sense of that question, which I don't go to a lot of conferences, and just, there's just not a lot around here in Southern West Virginia. So if you go to one, you have to kind of like make an effort to go to it. Right. A pretty good commitment. So it's been a while. But the ones that do go to, and just like the only reason I asked him that is because we just by coincidence ended up standing next to each other, and he came out in front of his booth, which I thought was nice for the people to take pictures. And he turned and he looked at me like I was next. And so I was like, I have a question. But normally, I don't, I'm like, I guess like you, like I don't go to I don't want to call someone out, just for the fun of it, because I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's, like, I hate to say professional, but I don't think it's a great thing. However, if they offer me the opportunity to ask a question, I will ask a question. And I like to phrase my questions, in a way that I try not to be confrontational. So if there's a subject that I found interesting that I'm not quite buying into, I might ask, tell me more about this, or help me understand, or help me get a better visual on what's going on here. And then get more specific as we go. I really do, if I do meet someone, I do want to learn. I don't want to argue just for argue's sake. I do want to learn. And if there's an opportunity to learn, then I'm going to take the opportunity to learn.
Yeah. I mean, most of the conferences that I go to, when you walk in, they're happy, they're enthusiastic. And if you speak up and be that guy that just calls out the speaker, then you're automatically the bad guy. Doesn't matter. You're just automatically the bad guy. But if you approach it in a way, if they ask for questions, then game on. It's open season.
They've asked.
You still be professional.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, you definitely can ask your question and not get retaliation for just being that guy.
Yeah, there's ways to ask questions. I mean, there really are, and there's ways to ask that are you just want to be, an ass about things. But if I really have an interest in learning something, then I want to ask it a way that I'll hopefully get a response that'll be positive and informational.
So we got a guy. We have a fourth person watching us.
Oh wow!
So, and we have something we could probably talk about.
Okay.
He says, "I know that most of you skeptics." I'm the most skeptical, I think, of us.
I'm skeptical of that statement.
I don't know. I don't know where on the scale each of us are.
It's kind of like the most haunted. Who's the most skeptical?
Yeah.
But I'll read it. I'll read it right off the screen. I know that most of you skeptics I know that most of you skeptics on most things.
I think they meant, I know that you are skeptics on most things.
But what are your thoughts on any possibility of life after this one? I know it's a very vague question, but I would love to think that we exist beyond this life. The reverse is almost unthinkable and hard to try to imagine. Oh, most of you are skeptics, yes. Thank you for that clarification. So, I'll just jump in. I'll go first. That way it gives you a couple minutes to think about your responses. So life after this one, I addressed this earlier. I did one of my Ask a Skeptic things earlier, and this question actually came up. So I don't know if there's life after death. I don't know what's waiting for us, because I hear through reading different religions and different philosophies and beliefs, it's just there's so many different ideas of what happens after we die. I don't know what to believe. I don't really like beliefs, but I like to think that there's something. I really do, because I think about death a lot. Not like I'm weird or anything. Like, I don't think I'm weird, but I think about dying, like what happens. I really think about it a lot. Like, do we just go to sleep and not wake up? Does it hurt? Does it not hurt? Is there some kind of just like, I don't know, when we fall asleep and then all of a sudden we wake up in the morning, we just don't wake up in the morning, like what is it about? I'd like to think that friends and family that I've known and loved over the years, that I will see them again somehow or something. But as it stands, there's nothing for me. There's nothing that I've seen that convinced me that there is. And that may be sad to some people, but that's just what it is. Like, I'm searching for an answer, but I'm not finding it. And, I guess I struggle. My very skeptical side, some would say over skeptical, Dave. I love you, man. my skeptical side says no, but the imaginative side, the geek that you see before you with all of the Star Wars and shit like that, sci-fi stuff, wants to hope that there is something. So I don't know. That's my answer. And oh, thank you. I am weird. He says I am weird. Yes,
He is
but in
weird.
the best way. That's right. So that's my answer. I don't know if it's satisfactory or not, but that's what it is. So flip a coin. Tim, you're up.
You. I have to mirror most of what you said. I don't know, and I'm struggling between. I don't know which is better. The thoughts of just ending it and it being over is really kind of comforting to me as well. And there's nothing. You just finally get to sleep for as long as you want. But it's also, I'm like you. I do wish that there would be a chance to see people that I've lost along the way, and I don't know if that's just human nature, because it's what we want, grieving, and there's a lot of pain, and you miss people, and you want to see them again, you want to talk to them, and that's probably just a human condition. But honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I think about it, and then sometimes I just think, yeah, I'm not going to get there till I get there, so I'll sort it out when I'm in the ground, or my buddy's at university getting looked at by 20 med students. So I just don't know.
I was like, "What? Did he go? Did he leave?
No.
Holy shit!"
Drop the mic. He's out.
I tell you what, I'll try to make a pact here. Should I go before you two, and judging by my age and lifestyle, it's a good possibility. I'll do I'll try to get in touch with you and let you guys know.
I don't know. I mean, I probably drink more than both of you combined, so I might go first. I don't know. We'll see. And with the stuff that I write,
cholesterol numbers, I might be right up there with you.
I mean, I am constantly getting a lot of like threatening emails and stuff, so somebody might take me out.
So we got a Deadpool going, huh?
Oh my God, should we? We should.
That'd be fun.
All right, Dave, you're up.
So I feel actually surprisingly like Kenny and Tim. I don't know, but I hope so. We all do. We all hope there's more to this, but people have asked me that point blank, and I used to kind of joke about it and say, well, once I die, if there is something, I'll know, and it's great. If there isn't, I won't, because I'm dead and there's nothing more that you can do about it. But I think what I want to talk about a little bit is looking at things outside of what we know from watching TV for the last 20 years. Ghosts and hauntings, or what they called back in the original days of the Society of Psychical Research, spontaneous cases, are some of the weakest evidence if you want to explore the survival hypothesis. If you survive, it's some of the weakest, because and I'll give it to Kenny, as much as I hate to right here, but anecdotes, yes, they're anecdotes. A lot of this is stories. A lot of it can be thrown out to misinterpretation. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons.
Right.
But, there are cases where there's been veridical information that people didn't know, supposedly. But ghosts and hauntings are the weakest form of any type of evidence for the survival hypothesis. However, I've spent a lot of time looking into things and the research, reincarnation, near-death experiences, out-of-body experience, end-of-life dreams and visions, terminal lucidity. There's a whole host of other phenomena that actually has a much better data set than anything that ghosts and hauntings could ever potentially or possibly offer us. So when you start diving into that and you look at some of the work that's been done by the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia Medical School on, not just reincarnation, but near-death experiences, and you have MDs and PhDs, and they're looking at different things with near-death experiences and reincarnation and end-of-life dreams and visions. And when you look at that overall body of data, I think it says, at the very least, there is something worth continuing to look at to see if there is something there. It seems, one person could argue based on that data that it does support the survival hypothesis. Another person can say, nope, it doesn't at all. It could be due to natural factors, but somebody in the middle could say, well, it could or couldn't, but it could also, if you buy into extrasensory perception and that whole idea in parapsychology, could be super ESP. So there's a lot of different views, but I think there's enough data there that makes me curious and want to keep looking at it and kind of still hopeful that there might be something there. So just a little different perspective.
Nice.
So here's a follow-up question.
Oh,
just vaguely, what are you hoping that it looks like on the other side? Like Viking ships and spaceship. Like what do you?
I'm not too disappointed with the 40 virgins idea, but anyway.
I want waterfalls of rum just everywhere. Just a flowing river. You just pick up a glass, fill it up, and go. That's it. Perpetual buzz.
If you read some of the near-death experiences, and if you think that's indicative of what it might be like, it sounds actually pretty damn nice. Beautiful gardens, beautiful scenery, all your lost relatives that went before you coming to greet you. Sounds pretty nice.
Do you think,
of course, the Invention of Lying, the movie, which is one of my favorites, it's kind of funny how they spoof that religion kind of came out of the ability to lie, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it's a great movie if you haven't seen it. But, everybody gets a mansion in the sky. So
yes,
how could it be?
That's good.
But you read some of the things that people have said, and it sounds pretty nice. It's pretty amazing. If it is.
Do you think some of these after death ideas, these visions, come from the beliefs that they had?
That has been shown to, how can I phrase? Okay, so cultural beliefs, they say they shape how they communicate, or they shape the experience, but the core experience is consistent across cultures and beliefs. And everybody from, no religion, agnostics, Christians, all the way through, they have very similar core experiences. So, for example, somebody may say, I had a near-death experience. I saw a being of light. Somebody who isn't religious would say it was just a being of light that felt powerful. Somebody who's Catholic might say that was God or Jesus. And somebody else who might say it was Mohammed. So when you look at it, it's how they interpret it, not necessarily the core experience. The core experience, it tends to hold up for the most part. So I don't know.
So I kind of, I was going to go back to that with the, everybody gets a mansion.
I hope so. Be nice.
But if everybody gets a mansion, then is anything really a mansion? I kind of think that comes from, human wants, and just the humanity, or the essence of being human. Like you want comfort, you want safety, you want food, like fields of green grass, fields of...
That's from a movie, obviously, and it's a joke. But I think the whole thing is, it seems like everything that people report, it kind of, your materialistic needs aren't there at all.
Well, and no, I don't think so. I think, your need for basic survival, but basic survival and comfort. So shelter, food, good crops, how are you going to, clean water, I think culturally, and that was very important because I was thinking that too, because, what we think we're going to get, or what we hear in one culture is going to be big mansions. Another culture might see that as a, not a plus.
But, the one thing we need to remember, these are, and for a number of reasons we can argue this point, they're near-death experiences. They're not death experiences. You're only catching supposedly a glimpse, and some people might argue it's just on the fringe. So you're not really seeing what life after death is. You're not.
So
because it seems like people, if you read the reports, they only can go so far, but they can't cross a certain threshold.
What qualifies
and then they
as near death? Like
near death?
Are you? Yeah.
Well,
what?
There's a lot of questions about what exactly is a freaking near death.
All right.
There is. I mean, I'll admit it. But there have been people who have been, the cardiac arrest, no brain activity that they can detect, which, I think we lost Tim. It's debatable if you're not going to detect brain activity necessarily on the surface with EEGs. There might be deep brain activity. But there are cases where people have died and they've been dead for 45 plus minutes and had experiences. There's also people that have gone under the process, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it right now, where they do stop your heart, they bypass it, but they also drain most of the blood out of your system and cool your body temperature down to a very low level where you shouldn't have any brain activity at all. And people still report experiences. So what is near death? I don't think anybody knows for sure, but some people like Sam Parnio argue once you have cardiac arrest, most of your major cognitive functions they're not working anymore. So the argument, which I know skeptics will say, well, there could be some low level activity, brain activity. But on the other hand, the people researching this come back and say, well, if you're saying consciousness is completely generated by the brain and this neural correlates of consciousness, then how are you possibly forming these conscious thoughts and experiences when your brain is in a state that it shouldn't be able to do that? Because it kind of goes against what they argue. If you're saying that there's a certain type of neural activity that causes consciousness, that's how you form memories as well. When you have cardiac arrest, from what neuroscience knows, you don't have that capability. So how are those experiences being formed? Again, I'm not saying one's right or the other, but there's a lot of back and forth. Nobody knows. But to me, it's a fascinating argument. And you know what? You're not going to know until you freaking die. You won't. Nobody will. You just won't. Yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of research where they've asked mediums. They've compared all the different stories of what different mediums and psychics have said. And there's a lot of discrepancies.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't doubt that.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
But yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not well versed in this, so I can't make any arguments because I just don't have the qualifications or knowledge to back this up. But I all I can think about is, like, I keep going back to the dream thing where you fall asleep, and when we fall asleep, and sometimes you feel like, oh, I've only been asleep for like a few minutes, and you realize it's been a few hours, or vice versa. You've been asleep for hours, and you wake up, it's like, oh, I thought I was only out for like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what happens there. I don't know, but I'm kind of, I guess for me, I'm kind of hoping that death is like that. Pretty much, it's like a perpetual dream. Just you start to die, and your brain just shuts down. But I don't know the processes. I really don't. So I can't really comment. I can only speculate.
The scary stuff is the reports and the scientific literature that's coming out now that's saying that after you actually are pronounced dead, you still have a certain level of brain activity, and perceptually you're able to know you're dead.
Oh, lovely.
How would you know you're dead?
Because your heart might not be beating, you're clinically dead. They've pronounced you dead, but you still might have some perceptual awareness because your brain hasn't shut down completely yet.
But Okay, so this
that'll ruin
reminds
your
me
day,
of
Kenny.
this reminds me of like a story I read. I do not know how true it is, but it had to do with the beheadings with the guillotine.
Yes, I've heard this.
Where I don't know if it's true, so I can't say if it's true, but I guess a scientist then was wondering about death and made an agreement with a person to blink after his head was cut off and how long he can blink, and I think it was like 13 times. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know if that's true or not.
I really don't want to find out. I'm good. I'm good. All right. So
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, moving on. Damn. Look at you. Philly
good
Tom
question.
75.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. That was a good topic. So we've covered that. We've covered the lecture parts. I put 2 articles out this week. One I published and one I published myself. But I don't know if you guys don't have any topics you want to throw out there, I can throw this out and we can talk about it a little bit.
Hey, this is casual.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I did I put out an article, and this is probably the one really to talk about because you guys actually helped with this. Because I named you, so they know you helped me. You can't back out of it now. But basically, it had to do with fake diplomas, fake degrees that people get, and it's mostly from diploma mills, but also from other paranormal groups that put out certifications. They teach you ghost hunting 101 kind of thing, and you now become certified. And then there's a few people, and I definitely named one person that is a semi-famous TV show guy, Brian Kano, who continues to claim to be a parapsychologist. And that's really what spurned it all, because there were a few conferences that we went to, including the one Tim came with me to one, where people had brought his name up and said, oh, if you want to know more, you can talk to him. He's a parapsychologist. And that was like a popular idea. So it really started getting me into looking at these things, and found out that there's a lot of people. There's you can type in like certified ghost hunter or parapsychologist. I mean, where's my diploma? I got a diploma. I lost my diploma. Where'd it go?
Well, you didn't lose much, so don't worry about it.
I know. I mean, I can print out another one. It really doesn't matter.
There you go.
Use colored paper next time, would you?
Basically, it's you can sign up for classes. It's cheap. It's usually like $100 or more. Oh, we lost Dave.
That happened to me earlier. Yeah,
he'll pop in. I think he'll pop in. But basically, I paid like $100 and some. I think it was less than that because I had a coupon. And I get sent these courses. You go through them. You basically read. They send you everything to go through. There he is. He's back.
Ghost,
we lost you for a second.
Yep, Ghost kicked me out.
Okay. So basically, I paid a little bit of money, and they sent me the courses, which were all online, and you read through them. You took your quizzes online. It was really simple because it's like they didn't disable the find function, so you could do searches through the pages. And it took me 5 hours altogether, like a total of 5 hours. I was supposed to have 150 hours worth of coursework.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me 5 hours while I was drinking, because it was during a business trip during happy hour. So that's when I did this. Boom, knocked it out. I got a 98% with honors, and boom, there you go. I now have a parapsychology diploma.
Yeah.
So I think this is a big deal because if you have such a certification or something, and you start promoting yourself as like, oh, I'm certified. Mm-hmm. And I have another example that I actually brought up, and Dave actually helped me with this the other night because it was something that popped into my head and started looking into it. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I didn't notice this. I'll get in that in a minute. Yep. But basically, it's like if you present yourself as a parapsychologist, most of this community doesn't question it. Like there's no like, oh, let me see your degree. You know, where'd you go? What'd you do? No, it's kind of like a catch-22 because the community is usually pretty friendly and open. They're accepting. But I think they go overboard sometimes because stuff like this, they accept it without questioning it when they should. Mm-hmm. And then this person or any person that has this kind of the claim, they get this newfound authority. And it's like they can say stuff, whatever they want, and it becomes law.
Demonologist. Sorry.
Absolutely.
So I don't have my notes here, but one specific the thing that I Dave helped me with is that I was looking over. I'm going to do another podcast tomorrow night, and it's on this subject. And as I was going through some of my notes, I was going through our old friend Dave Roundtree, and looking through some of the screenshots that I had saved. And I noticed that he says, "Oh man, you know, I really do need my notes."
I think he said he got his certificate or something in parapsychology from Rhine Research Institute in 1976. Was that it?
I think so. I think that was it.
When we looked at the dates, J.B. Rhine had already left the Duke University, he had started his own thing, and it hadn't become the Rhine Research Institute for a while after that.
Yeah, he actually has a line in one of the bios that said that he received his certification in paranormal investigation from the Rhine Research Center,
something like that,
at Duke University. And I think the year was like 76, but the year that he gave, exactly how Dave said, Ryan had already retired from Duke University, had already separated from Duke University. So it wasn't part of it. And
let's get something real quick. Let me just stop real quick. They never called the Duke Parapsychology Unit or something like that. It was not Rhine.
Right. So, yeah, it didn't get that name till I think 95. I think.
Yep. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, you're pretty close.
So, not only was it not at Duke University, but it didn't actually get the name where he said it that it was until a long time after, like almost 20 years after. So, that was just a claim that it was one line, and we had missed it with all the other stuff that happened with that guy.
That's a good catch. Good catch.
That really stood out because that's a claim to be a certified paranormal investigator. When they're from a facility that literally did not exist at the time. So as he saw it, it did not exist. And another thing that goes along with that is that when I talked to Lloyd Auerbach a few weeks ago for this article, he made it clear that like he teaches courses there, but at the most they give out like a certificate of completion saying that you took the class, but he does not certify. Now, I don't know if that was still true back in the 70s when that part of that, I don't know. It just made me think like, all right, he made sure to say they don't certify. And I would bet money that there was no certified paranormal investigation course back then. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. I don't know for 100% sure. I don't want to state something I don't know for 100% sure, but I highly doubt it.
I mean, that's something that's on my list now to look into.
I mean, if you look at the genesis and history of paranormal investigator, I mean, 1976, I don't know about that. I mean, you were either probably parapsychology related or maybe ghost hunter, something like that. But I that's actually an interesting question to look into the evolution of the different terminology.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
That term originate and when was it coined? Because it seems more like a more modern.
I think it is. I mean, I think I said at one time I looked at looking at the terms like ghost hunter, paranormal investigator compared to parapsychology on Google Trends. It's something else. I mean, right when Ghost Hunters hit the TV show, you look at the searches and the trends, and the term parapsychology dropped significantly, and Ghost Hunter and paranormal investigator increased quite a bit. So I don't know what the genesis of the actual terms were, but I mean, you look at way back at the Ghost Club and the Harry Price days, and they were typically ghost hunters, I think, for the most part. Or you were parapsychology. Or the Society of Psychical Research if you go real far back. But that's something I would have to look into. It's a good observation, though. That was a really good catch on your part.
Thank you. That was like literally I was just flipping through screenshots and reading it, just gathering notes because I want to look like I know what I'm talking about. So I was reading over stuff again, and familiarizing myself because it's hard after you write so many things on so many topics. Like people will ask me a question about something that I wrote like 5 years ago, and I'm like, I no freaking clue. I have to look it up and see what I said.
Yeah,
and make sure that I'm still accurate because if it's from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it might have changed. So, but that was definitely interesting. So, what do you guys think about this kind of thing? Like, I guess people doing certifications for paranormal stuff.
You're not certified in anything. If you want to issue a certificate of completion, that's fine. I mean, I look at the Parapsychology Association, the Parapsychological Foundation, and one of the things I just did, and they only offer a certificate of completion. It's not a certificate of anything. Right. It basically is you completed it. You listened to all the lectures, you participated, you turned in a paper or whatever, and that's it. But to say that you have a certificate, I mean, that's a problem because I can tell you right now, I'm going through a program. Part of one of the first programs I'm going through with Northwestern Business School is a certificate, like an executive scholar certificate. That's actually a certificate where you have to pay a ton of money and take a lot of classes, and you get a certificate from Northwestern University that you have a certificate, executive scholar certificate, based on taking these classes at the university. That's an accredited university. Yeah. So there's a big difference between getting a certificate of completion versus a certificate in a particular area of study. And I think you talked about this in the article with some of your background in history, that you can get, you can be a certified auto mechanic or a certified, you were a airplane mechanic or helicopter mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can but
you're certified. You're certified by a governing or overseeing body that you have the knowledge and skills based on the training you did.
Exactly.
That's a certificate of something. It's a lot different than a certificate of completion. If you want to take somebody's class and I can write a piece of paper and say, hey, you took my class, doesn't mean anything, but you took it, fine.
Yeah.
But that, to me, that's even a world of difference of saying you're a parapsychologist.
Yes.
Because that is, as you talked about in your article, that's an advanced degree. Master's, PhD, mainstream university. Might not be a mainstream area of study, but you did your thesis or your dissertation in an area of parapsychology.
And you're right. You can get certifications from like manufacturers. It has to be an overseeing body. Like Pratt and Whitley. Pratt and Whitley is the engine builders for some of the helicopters that I worked on. And they built it. They know their product. So if I went to one of their training classes to understand like how to repair them, how to build them, I can get certified as a repair technician. And you can do that with pretty much any manufacturer that offers manufacturer training. So it doesn't have to be a university. It can be a manufacturer, a company that produces a product. You can get certified in that, and that's great. I was an emergency medical technician for years, and I got certified by the governing body in Pennsylvania, overseeing that license. And I don't know it off the top of my head, because it's been like 2 decades since I have done that. So I have to look at my notes. But it's a governing body. I have to demonstrate my skills. So yes, even though I don't, well, I do have an associate's degree in automotive gas and diesel. I went to school. I got my degree so I could fix shit. That's pretty much it, you know? So I do have a degree. I do have certifications. I have certifications out my ass, throughout like different manufacturers of cars and helicopters and whatnot. So I understand that process. And I guess it annoys the shit out of me when someone takes the easy route, you know, and they cheat. They take a shortcut, and you pay a couple dollars, a couple $100 maybe, and I guess an organization or an online company, they send you the materials, they send you the tests, they send you the certificates. So hey, when you're done, you fill it out. Type your name in there, you know, and do it. Or even, you know, when you get tests to take, and everything's open book. Take your time, open book. You can hit Control F on pages and type in the question, and the answer pops right up. That's not demonstrating your skills or knowledge. That's showing that you can cheat, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, it does bother me when I see people take that shortcut and present it as something legitimate, especially when they say it's as legitimate as anyone else that did the whole academic course. You know,
not even close.
Part of the conversation that I didn't put in the article was that, like, Brian compared himself to Lloyd Auerbach, basically saying if they were in the same room, they had the same opinion and they had the same weight. And I mean, I say that because, like, you guys did help me, and I shared everything with you guys, so you could see to make sure I wasn't wrong or that I was understanding this right. So yeah, your 6 month, if it took that long, online course that you did at home where you could get the answers and fill them in for free, you paid a couple $100 compared to a guy that got his psychology degree and then continued and got the parapsychology degree on top of that. You know, he put in the years and the hard work and the money, because it's expensive, to get that. And you're going to say that your opinion has as much weight as that guy? Fuck no, you don't.
Nope.
All right,
not even close. But it pisses me off too, because if I look at the number, I've taken Lloyd's classes through HCH. I've taken the massive online stuff, the Parapsychology Foundation sponsored one. I've taken the University of Edinburgh class, and all they issue is a certificate of completion. But I'll be damned if I'm going to come out and tell you that my title is parapsychologist, which I'll be quite honest.
Found it.
I think nice. That diploma. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I think I know probably more than some of these people who you've mentioned that claim that they have a degree or have a parapsychology title. But I don't call myself a parapsychologist, but you don't do that. But those of us that have gone through college and grad school in other fields know what it takes, know what it entails. And it's not just, taking an online thing and saying, you have that title. I mean, can you imagine, forget all the undergrad and grad school. I'm just going to say that Dave Schumacher, he's a molecular biologist, because I got a diploma from wherever Kenny did on his parapsychology degree. I can tell you, based on the money, time, effort, and everything I've done, that ain't true. It's just, it's really annoying. And I think what's happening, and we'll let Tim chime in here, I think what's happening is people are in the field are trying to elevate themselves. And I got to look at this more, and I really need to start writing this up. But we went from the generation of a ghost hunter to a paranormal investigator to a paranormal researcher to now I'm seeing the term people are giving themselves parapsychologists.
Yeah.
They're trying to stay one above everybody else for a position of authority. And it's wrong.
This reminds me, and I'm going to make it short so Tim gets a turn, but it reminds me of the evolution of psychic abilities. Like it went from like little seances where they just channel things to automatic writing, to cabinet stuff, to escapes, to trumpets that hung in the air. And like everything was like, okay, we have to one up the last psychic.
Yep.
That did this, or the last medium. We have to one up them and do it like a gig or a trick that's better than what they did. And it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And these titles, you're right, from ghost hunter to paranormal investigator to researcher to now demonologist and parapsychologist. Like they're giving themselves these titles that are more they more academic sounding. And it's bullshit. All right, Tim.
It is bullshit.
The voice from the hairless bear just chimes in.
Well, listening to you guys, like I completely agree. I think it's all about maintaining a position of authority, and a lot of people's position of authority is a lot of their self-worth. So you have a lot of people that are on top or have some type of control or at least position in paranormal, the small paranormal minority or community rather. And so to save the placement, I think it's exactly right. You just have to keep saying, you have to keep elevating your status to stay on top of it, to keep getting asked to speak at places, to get on TV shows, to con people into giving them their haunted objects, which are really priceless for your private collection. I do. And so I guess listening to this and listening to you guys talk about certifications and degrees, my mind goes back to, because I guess it's just kind of in what I do, but I think about, I would love to see some of these people get cross-examined on the stand. And, when I go, I have to prepare my voir dire. I have to have all the stuff that I'm going to need to know, that when I get crossed, and I'm going to get crossed, and they ask me, what makes you an expert in this field that you do? What makes your opinion better than a lay person? I have to present that. And then they have a chance to cross that. They have a chance to attack that. And I have to defend that. And if, I don't dare on the stand under oath, inflate what I have, because that's trouble. Not only is that trouble, I probably, I don't know how much legal trouble that is. You're not going to go to jail forever, but professionally, you're done. If you're lying on stand, you're done. No one's going to work with you. You'll get, it's a horrible, horrible reputation to have. So you just don't do it. And it would be interesting, at least for me, to hear someone cross-examine some of these people. So when they say, I'm a parapsychologist, and, on the stand, they're going to say, what school did you attend? How many hours did you have? What classes did you take? Was your school accredited? What degree did you get to earn that? What are your continuing education? What do you do for that, to maintain that? Those are questions that they would have to answer. I don't think, going way back to Kenny talking about how accepting the field is, I think they haven't faced any hard questions like that, because I don't know if it's just new. I don't know if the field or the community is still young and they don't want to be that person to actually challenge someone's credentials. But I would like to see some of them happen.
I'm not sure they know, though, because it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast, and Lloyd was on it, and he was telling the story that he was part of a paranormal conference, and a certain individual from Ghost Hunters was there. And this individual got up and said, there hasn't been a whole lot written or any research done in the field since we started, which was what, the 1990s or so. And Lloyd, of course, chimed in. He's like, no, that's not true, from 1882 all the way back, and all this stuff with parapsychology. And they just don't know. The problem is they don't know. They base everything on what's on TV and what these people on TV are telling them.
I agree. I think
they have no idea what happened from the Society of Psychical Research to the American Society of Psychical Research to, even the skeptical organizations. They have no freaking idea. It's whatever they watch on TV. And they get people up there that come to conferences that they see as authority figures that say, there's been no research done on this topic until about the 1990s when we came on the scene.
Right.
And the unfortunate thing is when those people get corrected, the person who corrects them is the asshole.
There's very little research into the history. You need to know the history of your hobby before you start opening your mouth. Really, I mean, there's so much that's been done before us, and you're right. Like between the societies that you mentioned, that the Society for Psychical Research, and even the skeptical material that's been out there. I can't tell you how many times I say that when I introduce myself, I say I write for Skeptical Inquirer magazine, and they're like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Well, now I'm on this campaign to get people cross. I don't know what the word is, but believers need to look at the skeptical stuff. Skeptics need to look at the believer stuff. They need to look at both sides. But yeah, they don't know the history. They don't know what's out there. And if you don't know or you even bother to look at what came before you, then you're starting from scratch. You're starting with a hindrance. You're starting with a handicap. I don't know if that's the right term. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for that. But that's what you're starting with. You're starting behind the curve, and it's sad. You don't need to. All right. There's another topic that got brought up. We could probably hit this and then wrap it up because we're at an hour and 17 minutes. I don't think Mel's going to join us tonight, but Philly Tom here says they brought it up with me on their Paranormal Brew conversation. So that's another podcast that comes out on Facebook. They want to know our opinion on Steve Huff. Got my opinion on him, but how is it that you see him as a fake? What does he do that seems hokey to you? Hokies in quotes. I'm not saying that I totally believe in his way. Just curious as to your opinions on his ghost boxes and stuff. Granted, I know that his name is a trigger type phrase. How do you think he fakes things? Well, for one, I know, and I'd have to find the clip, but I know that he's used pre-existing audio clips in his ghost box sessions. And that was exposed. There was a video. Somebody did a video where they found it on a public access site, these audio clips, and they matched it up perfectly to his recordings of his ghost box sessions. But aside from that, my opinion is that he's an exploiter. He takes advantage of celebrities. As soon as a celebrity dies, I mean, within hours, he's right there saying that he is in communication with these boxes, and they're simple ghost boxes. I mean, he puts a lot of fancy shit on them, to manipulate the sound, which for me, that's a problem too, because he's already manipulating everything that's coming out of that box. But I don't see how he's doing anything. It's like I haven't sat down, which I really should. I mean, one of these nights, I think I really should sit down with some of his videos and see if I can match them up with audio clips that are known to be out there of these stars, because that would be interesting if I could do that. Fuck yeah, that would be really interesting. I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to pass it on to other people because now that I got to take notes. So, Dave, what do you think?
Not a follower, so no comment. I spend my time looking at other worthwhile things.
That was a good way to put it. All right, so Tim,
I quit following a long time ago. So the couple things that I did not like with him was the presentations all spooky and hinky, and any information that he has or any data that he puts forward is subjective. Actually, his was my very first, I think, Facebook that I was banned from for asking too many questions.
You've been Tim Vickard more than once.
I have. It was great, actually. Yeah, he was my first. He was my first ban. And I think the question that finally got me banned was, how do you know? How do you know that this is a voice from the past? How do you know that that is someone else's voice? And that was too tough of a question.
I'm going to say anybody who will ban you based on that question, that should tell you a lot about the person.
Yeah. The other thing that I don't like fundamentally, just as a human being, about that person is that I feel that there is a lot of opportunistic celebrity grabbing from the death of other people. And that type of behavior I don't like. It tells me more about the person than it does anything that he or she may or may not do research wise or paranormal wise. So if you're ready to sink your claws and make money or fame off someone else's death, that tells me pretty much all I want to know about you. And I don't need to be involved. I don't need to listen to anything that you're putting out.
It says a lot about their character.
It says everything about their character.
Mm-hmm.
So our Philly Tom says, I actually had a legitimate question for him for a personal subject that I asked him on Facebook. I saw that he viewed it, but never got an answer. Oh, if it was a good question, you probably never will.
No. I got blocked because he didn't answer mine either, or his social media staff didn't answer it. So I kept asking and I got blocked.
All right. So I think we can wrap this up.
First one, but not the last one.
Yeah. You've been Tim Vickard more than once.
I have coined my name is a verb. I love it.
Yeah. For those viewing this, Tim Vickard means you got kicked out of something.
Yep.
It's a term of endearment here.
It is a term of endearment here.
It's an office joke around our office. Oh boy, good times. We've all been Tim Vickard.
I was sitting here looking at your on my screen going, wait a minute. Everyone here that I can see has been Tim Vickard.
Everyone. Yep. Even Melanie.
So,
all right. So we can wrap this up. If you guys have anything coming up that you want to put out there, Tim, you got anything coming up?
No.
No, you're like, fuck no. I don't got anything. No. What about you, Dave? Anything coming up?
Giving a talk at Milwaukee Paracon on September 14th, Saturday at El Verno College. So we'll be there. And then Jen and I do another show called Side Chat. So we should hopefully have another episode coming out soon.
And that's a podcast?
Yep.
Yeah.
Podcast.
And what's that about?
We basically take a look at different topics in parapsychology and talk about what it is, the data to support it. If we can, we'll find somebody who's done research in the area and get them on to talk about the topic. And then we give, websites and links of where people can go to get further information.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, I have a bunch of stuff. I'm not really going to go into too much. The conference you're speaking at, Noah's going to be there too, right?
Noah Lee's going to be there. Yep. He's going to be there. Yep.
All right. Awesome. So real quick, I got something coming up September 14th. I'll be at White Hill Mansion. They have a Otherworldly Paracon, so I'll actually have my Skeptic booth set up. I cannot wait. It's the first time I'm going to set this up. We'll see how it goes. And then October 5th, I'll be at Soma Mansion for a psychic fair. I was invited. Yes, I saw Dave's eyes like go wide. It's a psychic fair that I was invited to set up my Skeptic booth. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
I smell a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
And then, let's see, October 16th to 20th, I'll be out in SciCon. I'll be out at SciCon in Las Vegas. That's a big science convention. I'm going to host a workshop for the convention, which is cool. And then the last thing I have scheduled is March 26th to 29th is Phenomenology. It's another paranormal conference, and Tim will be joining me for that.
I'll be your personal guard in the Skeptic.
He will be my bodyguard. So that'll be fun. And that's it. So
cool.
Yeah. Everybody that's watching, Philly Tom 75, thanks for watching us and for the questions and topics. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. All right.
Yep.
Talk to you all later.
Later.